Hey everybody. We are waiting for Chrissy. How's everyone doing today? What am I wearing? This is Balenciaga. Spring, summer from a long time ago. I don't remember what season, but it's so beautiful, right? Yeah. I thought I would wear something festive today. All right, let's invite Chrissy into the mix.
Wait, you look so chic today. I'm wearing, I'm wearing a fancy Kate sweater, but not Balenciaga.
Yeah, I was gonna say people were like, "What shirt is this?" Do you remember what season this is from?
Is it Demna's first collection?
I feel like it was very close
Yeah,
when he was doing like all the ice like figure skater outfits,
right.
like super tight dresses. And this came in like a full. Do you remember like it came with
With
tights?
the tights, yes, and the
So some
boots,
people
yeah.
would wear like the tights and the top.
I think I feel like it's like two spring seasons ago,
Yeah, I don't remember.
or maybe three at this point. I don't know.
Maybe three. Yeah, maybe three. What are you drinking?
I'm drinking some turmeric tea.
Oh, really? Did you
Yes.
make it yourself?
I have like these fresh turmeric tea bags from Jamaica that I always get when I go there once a year. So, yeah.
Ooh, yum. I've been like literally eating so much turmeric. It's kind of insane. I'm like shocked that I'm not like bright yellow right now.
I know my countertops are stained.
Oh, really? Wow. Um, okay, so let's like get into it. So nice to see you.
I know, always.
Always. And let's like backtrack. I don't even remember like when we met, I obviously met you when you were still at Harper's, but that was
Yes.
like a long time ago. I think I remember coming into the office and meeting.
I was about to say it was the first time we met, the time you came with the coats.
Uh-huh.
I think that was the first time we met, but like we had been following each other.
Yeah, yeah. And then
Those coats are so good. I still have mine. It's at my parents' house, so I'll be
yeah,
reunited with it soon.
I was gonna say, how many
I had a
freaking lives have we? How long were you at Harper's, by the way?
for a little over 8.5 years. It's like 8 and like 7 months.
Yeah, and then you were basically in charge of the digital there, right?
I
Like
mean,
they're like the
one of the
Instagram,
people in charge of
one of the
digital,
people
but
in
I
charge.
wasn't. Yeah, yeah. I was the special projects director, so I was running the Instagram account as well as doing bookings and just fashion stories, like kind of
Yeah,
everything.
yeah. And when did you leave again? You left.
February, the first week of February this year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
very fresh still.
I think we talked a little bit about it, but I mean, what's it been like, Because I think a lot of people from the outside, they're like, the job is it's kind of like the devil wears Prada, It's like,
Right,
oh, you're so lucky. It's like so glamorous and it's
of
like
course.
this and that. So what was
Yeah.
it for you? I mean, you were there for 8 years. So what was it like for you during that time?
It was definitely never like the devil wears Prada because I worked in digital, so it
Yeah.
always just felt like a more free space because we weren't constricted to page numbers or like such hard deadlines. Like our
Yeah.
deadlines for the most part, like unless it was for like a celebrity feature, were pretty flexible. So yeah,
Yeah.
like if I couldn't get something done, that day, then I'm like, okay, well, first thing tomorrow I can get it up or whatever. And so that was something really nice about it, was
Yeah.
that we could be so flexible.
Yeah.
And I think also like it's just part of the nature of being online because sometimes you have to push a deadline because like Kim Kardashian announces that she's pregnant, or
Yeah.
something happens, you know,
Yeah.
in the culture, and you're just like, okay, well, now we need to spend the rest of the day like talking about this.
Yeah. I always, and also like when you were there, like you just had to have your finger on the pulse, right? Like you needed to know
100%
like what was going on
at
and
all times.
at all times. And I just felt, yeah, I was like, today, I'm like, who else is it better to talk about what's exciting us on the internet than you? Because I feel like
I,
so much of your previous incarnation at Harper's was all about like, you know, being in the zeitgeist and like
yeah,
knowing like what was up.
for sure.
So now we're all like in quarantine. We have a lot
Yes.
more time on our hands. Um, where have you been going to like get news? Where have you been going to get your fill up of like culture, music, et cetera, et cetera? Like, what's exciting you on the internets right now?
So this is kind of regressing in a way, but I've been really into Twitter lately. Like, I'm
Everyone's been saying that. Everyone's been like getting, so what caused you to, I don't know. I'm not sure if it's regression, but like why are
I
you
know
going
it's
back
not.
why are you going back to the Twitter space right now?
So weirdly, it kind of started towards the end of last year because my company started tweeting our weekly like cafeteria menu on Twitter. Like you used to be able to
Oh,
get it on a site, and then
yeah.
they started announcing that like it would be tweeted every
Yeah.
week. So I was like, okay. And yeah, so I started going on it because of that. And then I had a couple of coworkers who were also always pretty active on Twitter. Like that was kind of their chosen space.
Yeah.
So I would like going on there and seeing what they were saying and stuff like that. Um, Twitter is just like so not like my space personally, because
Yeah.
I think it's like so intellectual, and you also, I feel like, have to be really funny. And like I'm not funny, but I'm not funny in like a one-liner kind of way.
It's
And like
hard. Like, how
and
many characters is it? Like the 100
it's expanded.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what it is. They expanded it, but
Okay.
like but yeah, I'm just not like a one-liners kind of person. So
Yeah.
I feel like very insecure on Twitter.
Yeah.
But I do think that people are so like, it's where all the really funny people are. So that's
That's true.
why I just really love reading what everyone is saying.
Yeah.
And also, it's a really great place to like sort of get instant news or like know what's sort of happening,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
before it eventually like makes its way to Instagram. But I
Yeah.
actually think like Twitter's content is better than Instagram, because Instagram um is too it's just like too perfect and like packaged in a way.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, I think it's, I mean, like my assistant in Paris, like loves Twitter
Yeah.
and I mean, she's in like her mid 20s and it seems like a lot of her friends are on Twitter as well. So I
Yeah.
wonder if there's like this new generation of, I mean, not new generation, but like people are finding ingenious ways to use Twitter. Because again, like, I mean, Instagram is super polished, right? For the most part, it's like super high quality images, and yeah, it's not really a place where it's about like what's on your mind necessarily. Like to write
Right.
something meaningful, it's like that's where Twitter. But isn't Twitter also kind of like a dark space? You know what I
It's
mean?
also
Politically,
extremely dark. Like that's
yeah,
the thing about it, is you kind of have to be careful, because it's kind of like a minefield where like it's all fun and games until you see something that's like really triggering or just very dark and negative, people fighting or talking about things that you don't necessarily care about. Like I'm the type of person that like if I don't like a celebrity or just like someone that's sort of like in the public eye, like I just don't pay attention to them
yeah,
like
mhm,
at all. I don't want to know anything about them. I don't want to know what they're doing. I like
yeah,
just ignore it. But I feel like on social media, and especially on Twitter, when
Yeah.
people don't like someone, they want to just like go in on them. And I
Yeah.
hate that.
It's the whole cancel culture,
Right.
like, which
And
is
it's
so,
like you're still giving so much like attention to that person. Like that's the thing is
yeah.
like I would never give my attention to someone that I didn't like.
That's why I
Call me
feel like,
crazy.
yeah, that's why I feel like trolls, like, generally, I don't quite understand the energy expenditure because it's like you're actually not accomplishing anything by hating on someone that,
Right.
that you apparently don't like, but then it also conversely seems like you're obsessed with them. So that's why, like, trolls always, like, confused me.
For sure.
Like, you can step off, you don't need to come here kind of situation.
Yeah, but they love
Trolls
it's
will be
because
trolls.
it's just like they say, you know, the opposite of love is not hate. It's
Yeah.
indifference.
Yeah.
Because love and hate are the same thing.
What are some, like, Twitter accounts then that you would recommend?
Um I really love most of the people that I really like to follow
Yeah.
are like other media people,
Mhm.
like writers, fashion editors,
Yeah.
from the New Yorker, the New York Times,
Yeah.
GQ, Fashionista. Like I love Tyler McCall from Fashionista. Her Twitter is awesome.
Yeah.
Um, Chris Black is also really, really funny on Twitter. His handle is at Done to Death, and he has a lot of opinions and
Yeah.
he shares them in a very funny way. So he's really funny to follow. And who else do I really like? Also, just like a lot of my friends are sort of on there that
Mhm.
are like in the industry. So, um, but then I also kind of love like a TMZ, New York Post.
Yeah.
Governor
Some
Cuomo
trash
is a
news.
great Governor Cuomo is a great one to follow right now because he's sharing lots of news about what's going on in New York.
I feel like that would be a great Twitter account. Also something else I never realized or never really, like, thought about was Governor Cuomo, and
Yeah,
watching his press, like, releases or press conferences every day for some
yeah,
reason, like, it soothes me in a way that I couldn't even, like, consider before. He's just, like, so direct, calls it as it is, and, like,
yeah,
talks about his brother and talks about his mom, and, like, I'm like, is this normal? You know what I mean?
yeah,
But that's like something I watch every day, and yeah, I watch it, like, from the New York Times app,
totally.
and it's kind of, like, surprising. Okay, how about books? Because you were telling me, okay, first of all,
Yes,
like, Chrissy and I, we were talking about relationships and whatnot, like,
yes,
during this whole COVID-19 situation, and you were telling me about this book that you were reading.
yes. I have it right here.
Let's see it.
It's called Come As You Are.
Mm-hmm. Great.
It's about the science of sex.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it says the surprising new science that will transform your sex life. And it's just so fascinating. Like I was saying that my friend gave it to me for my birthday. And when she first
Yeah.
gave it to me, I was kind of like, I don't need to read that. And she was like,
Yeah.
trust me, it's actually like really, really interesting. And
Yeah.
it absolutely is. And I'm learning so much about it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
I mean, what was that fact that you told me the other day?
Oh, so the most
Which was,
interesting thing
like,
I've
yeah.
the most interesting thing I've learned so far from this book is that fetuses are able to masturbate while in utero.
And these are, yeah, I mean, like, that is pretty mind blowing.
I
And I
know.
remember being like, trying to, like, grapple with that visualization. I'm like, that's so much information there,
Yeah,
but actually not so surprising either.
not surprising at all.
Not,
Yeah, there's just I mean, it kind of takes you through like human anatomy and the
uh-huh.
differences and actually how similar like women and male sex organs are,
Yeah.
and then really gets into like the complexity of female sexuality and how in the past it was always studied as um women's sexuality was always studied as like a light version of men's sexuality, but in reality, women's sexuality is so much more complex. There's so many layers to it. And it's also just interesting learning about how I was reading that like our turn-ons and turn-offs are kind of deciphered by or they're learned through culture, just in the same way that like kids learn vocabulary and accents depending on their culture.
So you're single right now, right?
I am.
I mean, technically I'm single as well, but
Yeah.
but I started kind of like seeing somebody right before COVID-19 started. And it's just been like a really interesting and like strange time to start a relationship with somebody.
Right. Lots of FaceTime dates.
Yeah, you know what's so crazy? Like it's funny that I do these lives all the time because I hate doing FaceTime. Like
Really? I love it. That's like the only way that I like to talk to people who
really
are close to me. Yeah. I always FaceTime, like even before all of this.
I never ever used FaceTime, and I always felt like so awkward, like with my phone or like with my laptop.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, even with my ex-boyfriend, I never FaceTimed him because I just thought it was like way too awkward. But now I'm like fully in the mix of using FaceTime and like IG lives and like all of this stuff because it makes like a huge difference when you actually like see someone.
100%.
Like it's totally different.
I mean, I think also obviously like just hearing someone's voice is really nice in comparison to just texting. But obviously, yeah, to be able to see someone's face and see their facial expressions while they're talking to you, and whether they're excited, you know, you can tell if they're excited or maybe they're stressed and anything that they're feeling. So yeah, it's definitely much nicer to connect with someone face to face.
New York. Old people are still honking outside.
I know. I was outside earlier. There's a lot of activity on the street.
Yeah, it's super nice today. So that means there's going to probably be a lot of people outside that aren't social distancing. But anyways, now we get to the fun part. We get to talk about astrology.
Yes.
Because like I freaking love talking about all things astrology, and it's only something I've gotten into maybe in like seriously getting into like having people read my charts in the last maybe 3 or 4 years, you know, because I was always just like going to a magazine and like reading you know, some like small little blip and not really thinking about it. And like the more I dug into it, I was like, wow, this stuff could be really helpful, you know, for someone's life. For reference, I'm an Aries. My rising's in Libra, and my moon is in Gemini.
Yes.
And you are a Pisces. What is your rising again?
I'm a Pisces sun. I'm a Taurus rising, and then Capricorn moon.
Interesting.
Yes.
I can see
so
that.
I like having the Taurus and the Capricorn to like ground
you.
The Pisces.
Yeah. So how did you get into astrology, like wanting to understand your chart, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, I've always been interested in astrology since I was probably like reading magazines as a kid. Like I loved always reading my horoscope in a magazine. And I just like remember always like understanding that like I was a Pisces and like that meant that I was really emotional and creative and all of those things. But actually it took me so much longer like for me to actually deep dive into it. I didn't get my birth chart read for the first time on, I think maybe like 5 years ago. And it was crazy because when someone just said try Vedic astrology, I have a tarot reader that does Vedic astrology for me. It actually, it's supposed to be better, but at the same time it confuses me because like all the signs are off by one. But yeah,
I have a Vedic astrologer too.
Okay. So yeah, I didn't have my birth chart read until maybe like 5 years ago. And it was such a it was like such a game changer for me. I was just like,
Yeah.
wow, I can't believe I waited so long to do this.
Yeah.
Or and I don't know that I even like understood that it was really a thing to be
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that it was just like really eye-opening for me to sort of understand like all the different components of like what makes me me, and so much of it was like very validating. And I think like I really recommend it to people who are kind of like struggling at the time, because I think that it really also helps you to understand like where your sort of like weaker spots or things that you perceive as like being more challenging
Yeah.
about your personality or the way that you interact with others. It just really puts it into perspective for you, and also I think kind of helps you understand like how you can work with it and like not take it so personally, or not, I don't know, not feel like, oh my God, like it's because I'm fucking up. Like there's
Yeah.
just something in your chart that's sort of,
Totally.
that's, you know, made things the way they are for you. So I do think that, yeah, it just like really validated, a lot of the ways that I felt. And,
Yeah.
um, of course it doesn't like instantly make everything better, but at the
No.
same time I just think that it helps to put it in perspective.
Yeah, perspective's like a good word. I think it allows you to see things objectively, because I
Yeah.
think a lot of us deep dive into astrology when it seems like we can't get answers anywhere else,
Right.
because I
Right.
think I first had my chart read as well, like when I was like going through something in a relationship and I was like, where am I supposed to live in this world? Because I just literally been traveling and living out of a suitcase for like 4 years.
Yeah.
And when I finally had the chart read, I mean, a lot of stuff made sense. And I didn't like, I stopped taking things so personally because I was just like, oh, okay, I understand that there's like a bigger,
Totally.
like there's an orchestra of other factors and things that are going on, that is kind of beyond my control. And for reference, like just for people who don't understand like what a birth chart is, like what is a birth chart and what information, because this is really important, what
True.
information must you have before you go have it read by somebody?
Okay, so to get your birth chart read, you need to obviously know your birth date, the exact time that you were born, and the location that you were born. So the time that you were born, if you don't, or your parents don't know it, it's not necessarily the end of the world. You can still get a pretty accurate reading, but it makes knowing your rising sign a little bit harder, because your rising sign, the rising signs change like every 2 hours.
Mm.
So you want to know as close as possible to your birth date. But essentially, it is a map of the sky at the moment that you were born. So where all the planets were, and what house they would be in, and yeah, how all of those things play into making you who you are. And I swear, I'm like, I know there's a lot of astrology non-believers, and I really do think it's because daily horoscopes have given astrology a bad rep.
Yeah, yeah,
But your birth chart is something completely different.
yeah,
And I think that if anyone were to go have their correct information and
yeah.
go look up their chart, I like to do it on cafeastrology.com. It has like, it's somewhat generic, but like still pretty spot on.
Yeah.
You will be able to see yourself in that. And if you can't, you might just not be able to see yourself very clearly,
Like
because I think that does happen a lot, where people will read things about themselves and be like, oh, well, that's not me. But I also think that not everyone can really see themselves clearly and have, the level of like self-awareness that we
yeah,
have.
yeah.
Um, Someone just asked, do you guys use the pattern? And I absolutely do. Do you, Vanessa?
Okay, so what's the other one? Co-star, right? Like,
CoStar is not better. Someone just said that, but it's not.
I mean,
The pattern is much better.
I use CoStar only for like the, like the daily push,
Yeah,
notification.
yeah,
But I
yeah.
know a lot of people that left CoStar because they were saying that CoStar were sending them negative messages that like they
They
were
have
not.
really random push notifications. Like I know
Yeah,
a lot of people post them like as a joke because they're so
yeah,
weird and random.
yeah,
The thing about the pattern, which is quite interesting, and sometimes like as someone who really loves astrology, I don't really like about it, is that they've actually removed all the astrology talk from it.
uh-huh,
So instead of saying like, okay, this is what you're like because of my moon in Capricorn,
yeah.
it formulates it as your pattern. So like this
Oh,
is your
okay.
pattern and like you're like this, but it doesn't tell you what the astrology is behind it. But I
Yeah,
do think in a way it's easier for people who aren't super into astrology to sort of
yeah,
understand it.
yeah. And it's just nice to have, I mean, also because you can like, you can connect to your friends on
Yeah,
CoStar and on the
you can on the
pattern.
pattern as well.
Okay, cool. So then you can kind of see and be like, oh, okay, I understand maybe why we get along and like this and that.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't look so deep into the apps only because like I have a chart reader that I speak to on a
right.
monthly basis,
Yeah,
and it's not like, oh, like tell me what my next month is going to be like tell me what to do.
right.
Um, she also gives me mantras like for 40-day
Amazing.
cycle where she's like, okay, let's look at your chart. Like this is
Yeah.
what's going on. In the grand scheme of things right now, like this is what
I
your
think I'm gonna need this person.
yeah, I need to introduce you. She's
Yeah.
amazing. I've sent so many people her way. But yeah, I just kind of have the apps on my phone as kind of like a fun thing because
Right,
once
of
you
course.
like deep dive and like really have your chart read and like talk to somebody. So my
Yeah.
Vedic astrologer, she's been doing this like since forever, and she's
Yeah.
wildly talented and
Amazing.
super intuitive. And once you get a reading like that, I mean, you take everything else with a grain of salt.
Right. For sure.
Okay, so other astrology 101 basics. So we all know like our sign, and you said that's like our star sign, like our actual birthday is. So I'm an Aries, so is
Yeah.
Aries my star sign then, or is it? Yeah,
Well, I mean, they're all your
it's my
star sign
sign.
basically. Like
Okay,
it's your sun sign
my sun sign. Okay,
is Aries.
so
Yes.
So my sun sign is Aries because
Yeah.
I was born on April 6th, and
Yes.
my rising's in Libra, and my moon is in Gemini. So
Yeah.
what is the difference between
Oh,
a rising
yes.
and moon?
Okay. So sun sign is like the essence of who you are,
Uh-huh.
and your rising sign is how you present yourself and how other people sort of perceive you.
Uh-huh.
So you would present as a Libra,
A Libra.
and I sort of present as a Taurus, which I get because a lot of times people will say to me like, "Oh, you seem so like calm and like
And
grounded,"
granted.
which is very much a Taurus characteristic.
Mhm.
And then your moon sign is your emotions.
Mm.
So
Uh,
like for me, Capricorn, so like my Capricorn moon and my Pisces sun are kind of interesting placements because Pisces, of course, is
super
famous for
emotional.
being emotional and super sensitive, but Capricorn is actually rather detached and doesn't like to acknowledge emotions.
Yeah.
So I kind of am sometimes like pulled in two different directions where like I might feel really sensitive about something, but
Yeah.
I kind of just will shut down and like not want to deal with it.
Yeah.
And of course, at the end of the day, I do like I'm in therapy every week and like I do
Yeah.
love to like deep dive into my
Mhm.
emotions, but there's definitely a part of me that's like I would rather sort of be like cold.
Yeah, because that's like when I found out that you were a Pisces, I was kind of surprised because there was
Yeah.
always like not standoffishness, but like a guardedness about you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it does make sense that there is like Capricorn in your chart. And Okay, I have a question.
Yeah.
So you said your rising is how you present and how
Hmm.
people perceive you. Does
Yeah.
that mean that that is actually not a part of like who you are? Like if my rising's in Libra, does that mean my Libra self is just my fake self that I
Well,
present to
no, it's
people
not. I
else?
think it's just like we all have sort of like an inner world. So your Aries sun is sort of your inner world and like
Uh-huh.
your inner reality. But
Yeah.
obviously, we don't go into the world always as like our most open and,
Yeah.
you know,
Mm,
innate selves. Like there is
yeah.
sort of not like even an act, but when you're out in public and whatever, you know,
Mm,
there's a little something different, I think, that you're giving off. So I think, yeah, your sun sign is very much like your internal, who you know yourself to be. And
yeah.
your rising is just like how you are presenting yourself to other people.
Right. And
Not to
as you
say that
get,
that's fake. I think we
right.
all have like so many different sides to ourselves. Like I
Yeah.
feel like I could at any one time I could be like a million different people. And I think also because of like my Pisces sun, like I'm very um empathic, and it's very easy for
Mm,
me to sort of like morph into like whoever
mhm,
I'm spending time with.
mhm,
And it's
mhm.
interesting because I always grew up as being like one of those kids who could be friends with everyone. Like I could be friends
Yeah.
with the popular girls, like I was friends
Yeah.
with the jocks, like
Yeah.
anyone. And
Yeah.
um yeah, I feel like there's so many different sides to me that I really can just like adapt to any setting that I'm in.
Right. Okay. So let's deep dive back into the chart. So within a chart, you'll often hear a chart reader be like, "Oh, there are different houses
Right.
within the chart." So,
Yes.
I mean, I'm still even confused about that. Like, what does it mean? Like, what is a
I know.
house in your
I know.
chart?
So this is something that I'm still working on, like learning really well. But so the houses, there's 12 houses in a
Hmm.
chart, and they all like, well, each house is the same, but can sort of start in a different position for depending on the chart. But
Yeah.
each one just represents like a different part of us. Like the first house is like your house of like your house of self, basically,
Mm-hmm.
and like that inner world. I know the fourth house, I believe, is siblings. The seventh house is relationships.
Yeah.
10th house um is it career, or am I thinking because it's mine? Yeah, I don't want to like speak out of turn because it is something like it's so interesting because I love astrology and I do want to know so much and like learn everything about it, but it is so much to learn and to
Yeah.
absorb. It's insane because not only do you have to understand sort of the characteristics of each sign, but then you have to understand all 12 houses. And then depending on what sign is rules that house, which is
Yeah.
different than what planet you have in that house. It's like they all kind of, you have to interpret them in all different ways.
Right.
So it's a lot because every sign in your chart, every
Hmm.
house is ruled by a different sign.
Got it.
So
Yeah.
like your first house is usually, or right below your first house is where like your rising sign is, because your rising will be on the actual horizon.
Yeah. Yeah.
um but then you have planets obviously all over the map,
Right.
and yeah, it just depends on what planet is in what house. And
And do these things change as well, don't they? Or like,
yes,
okay.
yes,
And they change like how
depending
often?
on the actual transits.
Got it. Oh my God. There's like, see, like the more you dig into it, the more mathematical and scientific it is. Because if you ever look at a chart, it
100%.
literally looks like a crazy person had
Yes,
gone, like it's like a beautiful mind situation where there's like a circle and there's like a bajillion
I
axes.
know, and then all the lines like
Yeah, there's all
connecting
the
all the
lines,
planets.
and then there's like the signs, and then there's like degrees as well.
Yep.
So I mean, yeah, it's like that's why I have someone else do it for me because I'm like, when I
100%.
see it, my mind's just like, it just explodes.
I'm like trying to see where my books are. I don't
Do
have
you
them
have
with
anything
me.
like on your phone that you can like reference as a chart or like just to show people how insane it looks?
Here, wait, I can pull up mine. I have it on my computer if it will show. Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm like, I don't know if this will work, but oh, yeah, well. So that's my birth chart.
See, it's I mean, this is
So it's
pretty
like
much
I only
what
have
I sense.
planets
Uh-huh.
on the top half of my chart. And I have yours pulled up too, so I can show yours.
Yeah.
And all of your planets are sort of on um, the eastern side of your chart.
And whoa, interesting. So how crazy is that?
Yeah. But if anyone is also interested in learning more about reading their birth chart, I also really recommend reading Chani Nicholas's book that she just came out
Mm.
with a couple months ago. Um, what is it called? It's like You Were Born to Do This. Um,
Chani's like a super famous
You Were
astrologist.
Born for This, yes. You Were Born for This. It's such a great book. It basically teaches you how to read your own birth chart, but just for the sort of like the major planets, which would be like Sun, Moon, obviously your rising, and then Jupiter, Mars, Saturn, because those are the most individual.
Yeah.
There's other planets where like they don't change, they change sign like every couple of years, so they're more representative of like a generation than
Yeah.
your individual person.
Got it.
Yeah.
We have some questions here. I'm gonna pull up some
Yeah.
questions. We're this one. I thought this one was kind of good. Um, can you see the question?
Oh, yeah, I can.
Okay, cool. You can see it.
And how to utilize it. This is actually a great question, and also kind of relates to my birth chart because my son is in my 11th house, which is like sort of like friendships and people, and it's actually quite interesting when I think back on my career, because basically every job that I've ever gotten and like every opportunity has come through connections I've made in my career. Like even my job at Bazaar,
Yeah.
I know it sounds weird, but like I technically never interviewed for that job because my boss was someone I met at a previous job
Yeah.
when I did interview. And so she just happened to go to Bazaar to be the senior web editor at the time her title was called. She was taking over the site when like nothing, had been happening on it. And so
Mhm.
after she had been there for about like 10 months, she called me to come work there. And so, you know, and even the job that I met her at, which was at InStyle, that was like my first real editorial job. And I had also gotten there because of someone I had interned for when I was in college. He was working there, and I like literally bumped into him on the street one day and was like, I still don't have a job. It was like a year after I graduated. It was the recession. Things were really hard.
Yeah.
And he helped, and he like brought me in and helped me get a job. So the people that I have met in my life have always really helped me and helped me grow my career. So networking is something that's super important to me, and not even, I think networking kind of gets a bad rep because a lot of people think it's like, oh, you're trying to gain something from
Yeah.
people. And I think you can't go into it with that mindset, because that's how you will come across. Like I've
Yeah.
always, I mean, obviously as an intern, like I just wanted to impress the people that I worked for. I worked super hard. I let them see how passionate I was about what I was doing. And I think
Mhm.
that they really saw that. And I was able to, keep in touch with editors that I met while I was interning at Bazaar. But otherwise, you know, part of my job also at Bazaar was like going to events and meeting people.
Hmm.
And there were so many opportunities where, like, you know, I could help us get a model for a shoot or have someone really cool write a story for us because I
Hmm.
met them once at a dinner party, and, you
Hmm.
know, just things you never think of in the moment. And then all of a sudden, you know, I realized that, wow, that really made such a large part of my career, was these connections that I made with people in
Hmm.
the industry.
Hmm. So once you
Um,
like have the network, say like once you have the connections, because this is like, you know, it's two questions in one, is
right,
once
is
you
how to use it.
build like the connections, like how and when do you use it?
I mean, I guess it depends on what you're doing. You know, I think I was in like a fortunate position because I worked at Bazaar, and so I had a great platform that I could give to people, and I wanted to
Yeah.
share it with people that mattered, that had important things to say.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so it really kind of depends on the context. But I think if you have something interesting to offer someone, um, an interesting opportunity, then you should use it.
Yeah. I really liked I really liked how you approach networking as like not as an opportunistic thing, because I think like how we see it portrayed in like
Right.
popular culture,
It's like, what
and
can you do for me? What can
yeah,
I do for
exactly.
you?
And the thing is, like, I feel like a lot of people in fashion definitely do approach it from a very like opportunistic way. And when,
Yes.
you know,
You can
you're
feel that
around,
like radiating off of
yes,
them.
like when you are around so many people, like you genuinely can kind of distinguish between those people who just want like a business card or like just want a connection versus someone who's genuinely curious about you. And like for
Right.
me, on the other side, you know, being an influencer or
Right.
whatever,
I'm sure you get that
I've
all the time.
always, I've been like around so many people, you know, during Fashion Month, even like, you know, on a maybe obviously pre COVID-19, but like living in New York, you meet so many cool people all the
Totally.
time. And I'm never like approaching a brand or, you know, a person that may work somewhere that could potentially get me ahead. I never approach it like as an opportunity. You know, I've always seen
Right.
it like, oh, like I'm curious about this person.
For
Like,
sure.
I want to know more about you. Like, what do you do? And so many, like, so much of the time, people off, like, really are so, they're thrown off because they're like, oh, you want to know about me? Like, you want to know, like, you want to know beyond what I do. And, like, and I'm like, well, yeah, like, that's why I'm
Right.
approaching you. And people remember. So that's a really important tip I always tell people. Like, I mean, this is something my mom always taught me, is that in every interaction that you have, right, whether it be with friends or whether it be in business, you always want to bring something in, like something that is immeasurably valuable to the other person.
Right.
And in every conversation, like I'm always dropping some sort of knowledge, or maybe I like make the other person feel better or laugh or whatever.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
because then that's like, you know, that's like a real interaction, and not everything has to be fake, right, in fashion
No.
and like getting ahead and whatnot.
Right.
It's just approaching it not from, yeah, like not from like, okay, that's the person I need to talk to, this is what I'm going to get from them, but more so being like, I'm curious about this person, and if something, you know, something beneficial comes out of it, then that's great, because the foundation of honesty and kind of intention has been set already,
Yes.
versus like, this is, you know, I only want to be friends with you for transactional purposes.
Yeah. I think you're just going to stress yourself out if you approach it in a way of like, oh, I need something from these people, because you're also going to have a lot of connections that you can never milk.
Yeah.
It's just
Hmm.
not possible, you know, no matter, and no matter like how great you think the connection
Hmm.
is, you know,
Hmm.
there's a lot of like celebrities that I've met over the years, and
Yeah.
models and stuff like that, and you know, I tried and tried to book over the years, and like it just
Yeah.
still didn't happen,
Yeah.
you know, so you also have to sort of like accept that that's also very real.
And that's just okay. I think also, you know, because the both of us, we live and work in New York. It's a part of that like New York hustle, you know, where you're
For
just like,
sure.
okay, rejection. I don't fucking care about rejection. Come over and reject me, right? And I'm
Yeah.
just gonna move on to the next person. And I think
Yeah.
like having
You can't
that,
let that break you.
no, you can't, because I mean, otherwise you would just be done, right? But like
Yeah.
having that grit and detaching yourself from like someone potentially not liking you or like not doing the things that they said they would do for you, is also really helpful. And like the whole idea of like networking and like advancing your career in fashion.
Right. Yeah. Totally.
All right,
That helps.
so
Next.
um, okay, um, this is a good one. Can you see this? Yeah, you can.
Yes. Transitioning into adult. Um, well, making friends, I feel like I've spoken a lot about this before. I think you always have to be like, you almost have to court friends like you would a date. Like, I think you need to be
That's
really
so on point.
intentional. There have been times in my life where I can remember being really purposeful about like asking someone to hang out like regularly because like I wanted to be friends with them.
Mm-hmm.
And because I think in New York, it's hard. Like, and especially for someone like me, because I have a very small group of like sort of like inner circle friends, but then also I know so many other people from the industry and
Same.
people who I
Mm-hmm.
consider my friends,
Mm-hmm.
people like you. So it's hard to like make time for everyone.
Yeah.
So you have to be super intentional. And that's the same thing for like when you're trying to make new friends.
Yeah.
But I also think like, in New York, you're always surrounded by people. And there's also so many opportunities to go to like classes, like going to a cooking class or a dance
Yeah.
class where you're
Yeah.
with, lots of different people and just like
Yeah.
going to events and maybe like you can ask someone to introduce you to someone that they know
Yeah.
in New York. Like, and then there's also Bumble BFF. You can make friends there.
Yes, it's definitely like dating. You want to go to places where you would want to go yourself with a friend, right? Like
Yeah.
how people are always like, oh, like if you want to find someone like to date or like, to whatever meet up with, you should go to the places where you would normally shop, like where you would normally work out or like grab a coffee or whatever. And I would say
Totally.
the same for making new friends. Because, like if you go to a certain coffee shop, you and this person love great coffee, you love like interiors or whatever. So
Right.
already kind of like, okay, yeah, we're vibing on the same level.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I know. I think, through interests, that's like the best way to meet people because then like guaranteed someone is into
Hmm.
that same activity as you.
Totally.
And
Um,
then finding work, I mean, that's tricky right now.
well, this is another work question.
Oh,
What are you doing now with your
I'm
career?
getting, I get this a lot. I'm not doing anything right now. I'm just taking a break. I feel like everyone's like, you must be working on something. And I mean, like, I'm thinking about what I want to do next, but I'm not actually working on anything. And it actually feels really nice to not be working.
I
How,
think,
how often do you get to not work?
yeah,
So
we
I'm trying
have,
to enjoy it.
I mean, we had this conversation, right?
Yeah.
About how anytime you're kind of like in a place of transition, and you see this all the time when people like leave, an editorial team or when they leave a brand or when they leave an agency, people always are like, what are you doing next? Like, what's
Right.
next? And under normal circumstances, I mean, maybe you would be onto the what's next already.
Right.
Um, but because we have this forced, like quarantine, this lockdown, you're being given the space and time to be really introspective about what you want to do. And like, I just want like my advice for anyone that's maybe like in a similar situation as Chrissy, or like even internally where you feel like, maybe the job that I have right now is not for me. It's just to like do nothing, like just relax, chill the fuck out, like
Yeah.
meditate, do things that will cultivate um, awareness and like peace, and more balance in your life, because decisions made under stress are never good decisions.
Yeah.
And like clearly the planet has been begging us for change for so long now. And I think like that whole, especially in New York, where people are like, oh, you're resting, you're chilling out, like, oh, you've gone soft, because like so much of
Right.
American culture is like, go, 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 like on to the next thing. Like, and I'm an Aries, so that's definitely like my personality.
Totally.
Like I actually, me learning how to chill out is like a new thing for me. But you need to find that space, and you need to like cultivate that time and openness to figure out like what you want to do, because it's like if you're just gonna like pop off on another project that you're not like passionate about, that
Right.
maybe like where the intention isn't there, then I mean, why do it? There's so much like mediocre stuff out there already that's not thought out, that's
Right.
like homogenous. Like
Yeah.
we don't need more stuff, right?
Yeah. I'm happy just like existing as myself and
Yeah.
just thinking about life. But yeah, I'm just taking a minute to breathe. I think it's really
Yeah.
important. I was working in a very corporate structure for many years, and I think there's also some like unlearning I have to do just
Hmm.
about the way that I was operating and the system that I was in. And um yeah, so I'm just giving myself some time.
Yeah, time is important. I have a personal question.
Yeah.
You always have the best, like, slicked back, like, hair. What products? Because this is something I get asked when I like have to do a top bun.
Right.
What do you use to get that like super tight, taut, slick back, and it's like doesn't look greasy, doesn't look like, it just
Yeah.
looks so good.
So it's a combination of things, of course. Okay, so after I wash and shampoo my hair, I like section it into two, because I have really, really thick hair and
Yeah,
it's really curly. So like I have to do two sections. I like brush and detangle the bottom half and then the top
yeah,
half, like depending on also like what height I'm putting it at. It's almost easier if I just do it like at the nape of
like
my neck.
a
But I've
low.
been doing it a little bit higher, and now I'm doing
Yeah,
also like a little ponytail. But
yeah.
so I use, which it's really bad, but I use Eco Styler gel, which is really famous for having chemicals. The thing is that like you're probably into clean beauty, right?
Yeah, I like, I use a product that my assistant Amy got me.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, this is what all the black girls use. So it's really, and I don't remember the name of it, but there's only two ingredients. It's like olive oil and then
Oh,
something else.
maybe send me what you have. So I use Eco
Yeah.
Styler gel, which yeah is really well known for being full of chemicals, but honestly
Okay.
it works so well, and so
Yeah.
that's why I continue to use it.
Yeah.
And then also, so I just put like a ton of it in my hair. I try to
Yeah.
focus it mostly like back here, and then
Okay.
for my hairline I use an edge control product called Design Essentials. I buy it on Amazon. It is
Yeah.
the best, the stickiest shit ever, because like
Right.
no matter what, like my baby hairs will like still like
Yeah.
curl up and like be
Yeah.
sticking up. So sometimes I also, after I do it, I'll use a scarf and tie it around my head and leave it for like 10 minutes so my hair will like
Oh,
set.
cool.
And then I also, for actually like securing it, I use two like super tight bands to
Got
make
it.
sure it doesn't slip or slide at all.
So what you put at your hairline, is it like a pomade?
Sort of. It's called edge control.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, because what I use, I mean, it's in my bathroom. I'll have to show you later, but
Yeah.
it's really good. It like is a gel, and
Mm-hmm.
then, but it doesn't get crusty.
Right.
It
Neither
doesn't
does
get
this.
crusty, and I think you can like
I mean, it
even,
gets a little hard if I put a lot in. Like right now, it's like a little
yeah,
hard.
yeah.
But
Okay, and I mean, we have a few more minutes left.
yeah.
but you always have such like a great cat eye. Do you always use the same product? And what is it? What do you
No,
use?
I don't. I have like a couple of different liquid eyeliners that I rotate between.
Yeah,
I'm like, I am picky, but not picky where like I'll only stick to one product. But it's like I know when a liquid eyeliner is not good. And
right.
like I won't stand for it because like I
Yeah,
need my cat eye to go on smoothly and I need it to be black, ink black.
and
Like I hate when it's
say,
like streaky or whatever. So right now I'm using NARS, just like their simple liquid
oh,
eyeliner. I also really like Eyeko. It's like Eyeko. I think it's
okay.
Korean.
I've never heard of that one.
It's really good. And what else? There's also this random brand. I actually do not know where I got it from. Wait, I have to Google
Yeah.
it to make sure the
Have
name
you
is right.
have you ever used Tom Ford's liquid like his
No.
liquid? Well, okay, so all the makeup artists who've ever like painted my face, they say
Yeah.
Tom Ford's eyeliner is the best. And I have like that's usually what I use. And the Tom Ford eyeliner is so great because it's double-ended. On one end is like a fatter like brush, and on the other end is more like a pen. So you can like apply, you know, like a really thick
Yeah.
cat eye, and then you fill it in with the skinnier side of it.
Okay.
Marc Jacobs is really good too.
I
Um,
love Marc Jacobs
the
Beauty.
Marc, what
I
is it
don't have the
called?
eyeliner, but like I used to use the foundation.
Yeah.
And I really, really like it. And the mascara. Oh wait, it is Eco Styler gel that you're using too. Or yeah, Eco Style? Or I wonder if that's different. No, it must be the same thing.
Because there's only two ingredients in it. There's like
Oh,
they're so creepy in the one
weird.
that I have. Unless
Okay,
they're
but
like
send me a picture of it though.
yeah,
Okay,
okay, unless
so
they're like lying about the ingredients.
the other liquid eyeliner brand I love is called Palladio. As I said, I do not know where I found it, but it's like in a little, it's like, I don't even know how to describe it, but like you take, it's almost like a stylus pen where like you take it out
Yeah.
and then paint it on and
Yeah.
it goes off. It's like pretty watery, but like it just comes out the smoothest. Someone said Bobbi Brown gel pot. I actually don't like the
I don't
gel
like that
liners
part.
because they just don't go on like they're harder to work with, but they look
Yeah.
really good on. Really good
Yeah.
because they're so thick.
I mean, the for me the only like the only reason why I would select maybe a gel pot over like a pen,
Hmm.
I always felt like I drew better like cat
Hmm.
eyes with the brush
Right.
versus doing it with a pen. But for me, like, because I've got Asian eyelids, like my eyelids would always get oily, even if I put powder on top of it,
I know
and
mine get oily too.
it would always move onto the bottom lid, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah, you can't
it
have
wouldn't,
that.
yeah, it wouldn't be removed. Whereas, like, yeah, Tom Ford,
Okay.
I don't have to put anything. I don't even have to put like powder, you know, to set it.
Right.
And it's super dark. That was like another reason why a lot of makeup artists liked using it because it's black. It's like
Right.
super, super dark. It doesn't dilute when you apply it
Yeah.
on
And
your
it
eye.
doesn't move because I also like I
It,
can't deal with
no, it
eyeliners that
doesn't.
move because like I always touch my
Shockingly,
eyes.
it doesn't move. Also, yeah, touching your eye, that's not a good situation right
And
now.
not right now. Not right now. But I mean like normally like I'll rub my eyes or like
Yeah,
the corner of my eyes.
yeah.
And yeah, it'll mess up my eyeliner.
But yeah, check it out. I would recommend I
I
would recommend
definitely
Tom
will.
Ford. I think we're gonna be like kicked off soon. So I just want to say thank you
Thank
um,
you.
for coming through, and
Yes.
I
This
will
was
see
fun.
you on Zoom soon.
Yes,
Thank you to
absolutely.
everybody who tuned in,
Yes, thank you
and
everyone
we
for
hope
your
that was
questions.
fun and helpful.
Talk to you later.
Bye.